As 2025 draws to a close, we are taking a look at three stories that defined a year of record-breaking volatility, political scandals, and a fundamental shift in how crypto integrates with global finance. You're watching a special edition of CoinDesk Daily. I'm your host, Jen Sanasie. The rise and fall of meme coins. We begin with the story that dominated the first half of the year, the meme coin frenzy and its spectacular collapse. 2025 was the year meme coins moved from the fringes of the internet to the White House. It reached a fever pitch in January when President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump launched their own branded tokens days before President Trump's inauguration. The tokens plummeted more than 85% within months, leaving hundreds of thousands of retail wallets in the red. But the face of this era wasn't a politician. It was Hayden Davis. Named a Gen Z supervillain and CoinDesk's most influential, Davis became the avatar of financial nihilism. For him, meme coins weren't about jokes or communities. They were instruments of extraction. He used tactics like sniping, insider coordination, and front-running to siphon liquidity from the very retail traders who believed the memes were real. This peaked during the Libra debacle, where Davis infamously claimed to control Argentine President Javier Milei. The ensuing scandal and the token's collapse effectively popped the meme coin bubble, exposing the craze as a parasitic machine rather than a cultural movement. Utility or privacy? The transparency of traditional blockchains forces a difficult choice. Break free from this limitation with Midnight. The digital asset treasury crisis. Our second story follows the rise and sudden struggle of digital asset treasuries, or DATs. Following the playbook of Michael Saylor's strategy, over 140 companies began using their balance sheets to hoard digital assets like Bitcoin and Ether this year. However, the model faced a stress test like no other. In October, the index provider MSCI announced it might exclude DATs from its major equity indexes, reclassifying them as fund-like vehicles. This move threatened to cut the power to the flywheel that allowed these companies to raise billions in cheap capital. While heavyweights like Michael Saylor's strategy and Tom Lee's BitMine have managed to buy the dip, smaller firms have been forced into emergency liquidations to fund share buybacks. The industry is now bracing for January 15th, 2026, when MSCI will deliver a final verdict that could trigger billions in forced sell-offs. The October 10th flash crash. Finally, we look at the day the music stopped. October 10th, 2025, in what is now the largest liquidation event in crypto history. Over $19 billion in leveraged positions were wiped out in just one weekend. The crash was triggered by a macro triple threat: President Trump's announcement of 100% tariffs on China, the MSCI bombshell regarding DATs, and a massive deleveraging of crowded long positions. Bitcoin plunged to around $106,500, while several altcoins plunged by more than 75% within minutes. The aftermath has left the market in a liquidity void. Data shows that market makers have pulled back, leaving order books thin and fragile. As we head into 2026, the question remains, can the market rebuild its depth, or are we entering a new era of lower for longer liquidity? That's it for this special edition of CoinDesk Daily. Get more updates on CoinDesk.com, and we'll see you next time. Break the cycle of exploitation, break down the barriers to truth, break into the next generation of privacy, break free. Free to scroll without being monetized, free from censorship, freedom without fear. We deserve more when it comes to privacy. Experience the next generation of blockchain that is private and inclusive by design. Break free with Midnight. Visit midnight.network/break-free.